Okay, so for the past couple weeks, I've heard that you've been reading about biographies and autobiographies. Can anyone tell me what a biography is? Lauren.
A biography is a story written about a person by a different person.
Okay. And do you know what an autobiography is?
An autobiography is a story written about a person by that person, from like a first person kind of view thing.
Very good, very good. Okay.
First-hand account.
You seem very confident in those, but do you know what a memoir is?
Oh, memoir. If I had to guess, I would think it's about a certain memory. It's the word memoir.
Very good, very good. So basically, you're on the right path. A memoir is a collection of memories that an individual writes about. So it's certain moments or events that took place in their life.
Okay.
Okay? Yes.
So what makes it different from an autobiography?
A biography or autobiography is one that tells a story of a life. It's over time. It's a whole life. It's not just moments or sections or events of a life. Or a memoir is, like you said, it's memories. It's pieces of a life. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read The Junkyard Wanderers by Patricia Polacco. And by looking at the cover, what do you think the book is about?
I think it's about this girl. I have to assume it's the author, since this is a memoir.
Very good. Points and priors.
There's a plane. She's looking up at it. So maybe she built it, or she really likes that plane.
Oh, very good. So we're going to actually find out.
Awesome.
So it was the end of summer. The katydids were still buzzing when I finally summoned up the courage to ask my dad if I could stay with him and Grandma for the school year, instead of going back to California to be with Mom, like always. Your mother would miss you, Tricia, but I will talk to her, Dad said. I had a reason for staying, a good reason. What do you think her reason is? Why would she want to stay with Dad and Grandma and not go back home?
Maybe she has a friend that she wants to see, or it has something to do with that plane.
It could. Those are all very good reasons. Let's find out. So the Junkyard Wanderers. My heart sang as I walked to school with all of the kids on my grandma's block on the first day of school. My mother and father had decided that I could stay, just for 1 year. There was my father and grandma in Michigan, my old school in California. The kids all knew that I had just learned to read, that I used to be dumb. Everyone knew that I was always in special ed classes. Here, no one would know. No one would tease me. And I already had a new friend, Kay. But when I got to the front steps of the school, all the neighborhood kids ran off to their classes. And when I saw Kay and waved to her, she didn't wave back. I just stood there, not knowing where to go. And when I showed two strange girls my class card, I got funny looks on their faces. You're in Miss Peterson's class, they said. Upstairs, room 206. What do you think's wrong with Miss Peterson? Why do they act so strangely towards it?
Well, it sounds like they were more disgusted, if that's the right word. It sounds like it's like Miss Peterson's class is not the cool kids' class or something like that.
Looking at her from their faces, does she look surprised or scared or worried?
Shocked. She looks
Shocked?
shocked.
That's a good word, shocked. I like it. Let's find out. In room 206, I found it. In the classroom, a gawky boy I've never seen before yelled out, "Hey, the name's Thom. Not Tom, but Thom. Thom. Sit here next to me." He had a huge dark-rimmed glasses that magnified his eyes. I sat down and looked around. Everyone seemed really different in one way or another. I couldn't put my finger on it. Suddenly, everyone snapped to attention. Our teacher was standing in the doorway. Short and stout, she seemed a little scary. Brusky? But her eyes were friendly. I was sure of that. She walked up to the podium at the front of the room, slammed an enormous dictionary on top of it. Then she adjusted her glasses, and without saying hello or how are you, she started reading in this no-nonsense voice. The definition of genius, she began. So, what do you think now, Miss Peterson? Do you still think she's mean and strict, or?
I think she's very intense.
That's a good word, intense. And why do you think she stated that she thinks the kids in here are different? Everyone seems really different in one way or another. What do you think? Look at the picture. What makes them different?
Well, that boy looks older than he should be. The boy with glasses, I don't see why I wear glasses, so I guess that makes me a little different too.
Okay. I think they're all different, right? They all have different hair color, different. Yes.
What is the definition of genius?
Genius? Well, that is a good question. We're gonna have to find that one out as we continue to read. She's gonna state it. What do you think the definition of genius is?
If I had to guess when
Yes.
I think genius, I think automatically Mr. Einstein. His book.
I would have to agree with you. I think of Mr. Einstein too when I think of a genius. So ready? We're gonna actually find out. So genius is neither learned nor acquired. It is knowing without experience. It is risking without fear of failure. It is perception without touch. It is understanding without research. It is certainty without proof. It is ability without practice. It is invention without limitations. It is imagination without boundaries. It is creativity without constraints. It is extraordinary intelligence. Then she took a deep breath and slammed the book shut so hard it sounded like a gunshot. Welcome to the junkyard. I am your teacher, Miss Peterson, she said, walking around the room, looking at each of us. I want you all to write the definition on the blackboard. Post it on your mirrors, look at it every day, memorize it. The definition describes every one of you.
So the junkyard is not a physical junkyard; it's a classroom.
Yeah, I wonder why. Why do you think she called her classroom a junkyard?
Well, I don't think it's very nice that she's calling her classroom.
I don't think so either, because junkyard is typically meant for what?
Junk.
Yeah, so maybe there's a hidden reason for it. Let's find out. At recess that day, I couldn't wait to ask Thom, why is our class called the junkyard? Because we are, didn't you notice all of us are different? You know, odd, like stuff in a junkyard? He turned to the playground. See the super tall kid over there? That's Jody Beach. He's got some disease that makes him grow too fast. He's my bodyguard. No one picks on me when he's around. He smiled over there. That kid, that's Gibby McDonald. He has Tourette's. There's Stuart Bean. He has diabetes. Me? Well, I just have trouble seeing. They call me Sissy Boy because even so I love ballet. It's my life. I take ballet too. At least I did in California. I knew there was something about you I liked, Thom said. I felt it. I had found a soulmate in Thom, and since he thought Jody was nifty, so did I. But it only helped a little. Why do you think all these kids with differences are in the junkyard class and like other kids don't go in a junkyard class? I wear glasses. Actually, I wear contacts.
Well, if I had to guess, maybe they separate them so they won't be as picked on in, let's say, a regular kid's class. If they were, you don't feel so different when you're around kids who also need help too.
You know, that's what I thought. Because I have glasses. I know kids that wear glasses in my classrooms. But I don't see them as junkyard kids. I wonder why they're not. When I got home that night, I told Dad and Grandma about my day. I tried to be brave and not let them know how sad I really was. But just as Dad was tucking me into bedtime, I finally burst into tears. Oh, Daddy, I've been put in a special class again. It's called the junkyard. Junkyard? What junkyard, my dad asked. That's what everybody calls our class. Darling, my dad said, you are not a quitter. Stick it out for a month. If the class doesn't get better, I promise I'll send you back to California. I didn't tell him that when I tried to sit with Kay and her friends at lunch. She said that junkyard kids couldn't sit at their table. That's not very nice. That she couldn't even sit with her friend.
Well, her friend's not being very nice to begin with.
No, she's not. From ignoring her the first day to now this. It's not nice. The next day, Miss Peterson arrived in class with a basket full of small glass bottles. Today, she said, we are going to determine your tribes. She gave us each a vial. Tip some of the liquid on your wrist. Smell. Some of you smell like lemons, some cinnamon, some almonds. Now, can you smell someone who has the same scent as you? They will be part of your tribe for the year. I sniffed my own wrist. Vanilla! We all strolled around the classroom sniffing each other's wrists. I sniffed a boy's wrist who was wearing a homespun shirt, and he sniffed mine. Vanilla, we both said. My name's Gilbert McDonald. Call me Gibby. Then the two of us fanned out. I found a girl who smelled like vanilla. Looks like you're in my tribe, I chirped. She just smiled but didn't answer me. Gibby, come over with Tom, Vanilla, he announced. My bodyguard Jody is too. So Tom, Gibby, Jody, and I were a tribe. I asked the shy girl her name. She wrote down on a piece of paper. Raven Salitz. Tom told me later that she hadn't spoken as long as he had known her. I wonder why she hasn't spoken. And that was a nifty activity for them to do. Smell wrist.
Smelling? Yeah, that sounds cool.
Like, my favorite scent's vanilla. What about y'all's?
I like lemon.
Lemon? I wonder how almond would smell. Cinnamon seems a little too strong. From then on, whenever there was a project to be done, Miss Peterson had the tribes work together. Revan never taught. She was a whiz at math. Gibby had tics and shouted for no reason sometimes. But his father was a professor of engineering, and Gibby loved buildings. Boy, was he smart. Jody loved reading. Everything, particularly poetry. He even wrote poems of his own. Thon made all of us laugh. He was clever. Me, of course, I could draw, so I became the official journal keeper, and the borders were filled with my drawings. It wasn't long before Thom, Jody, Gibby, Raven, and I were best friends. We did almost everything together. Even after school, we visited Jody, who lived out on a farm east of town. His mother decorated cakes. She was working on the tallest wedding cake I had ever seen. We all helped her. Sounds like she made better friends with Kay. It sounds like she's having fun. One night, Gibby's dad set up a telescope in his backfield and invited the whole class over to look. We could see Saturn with our naked eyes, but with the telescope, we could see Saturn's rings. We never did go to Raven's house. She lived in foster home. I don't think she was too happy there, but her foster mother let her paint beautiful designs on silk from an old World War II parachute, which she brought to school to show us. My dad arranged for the whole class to go to a neighbor's farm and have a hayride that took us way off into the fields.
Maybe that's why she doesn't talk.
That's a good question. Why doesn't Raven talk? Why do you think?
Maybe she's upset.
Upset?
Probably.
I wonder why she draws on an old World War II parachute. And I wonder what she draws. Our class was special, all right. The junkyard kids were pretty amazing to begin with, and Miss Peterson showed us how to shine. She even helped us make badges that said the Junkyard Wonders. So you can be proud of who you are, she said. That day we got the badges. This mean boy came running up to us. Weirdos, retards. Now you even wear dumbbell pins. A boy named Barton Poole grabbed the pin off my shirt. I started to cry, but then Thon and Gibby ran at Barton and his friends. Right, one of his friends said. Now Twinkle Toes and the jerking fool, are going to hurt us. We are so scared. Just about then, Jody, big, wonderful Jody, appeared from nowhere. The mean boys sure backed off. Someday you aren't going to have this freak to guard you, Barton snarled as he stalked away. I wonder what the pins are for, and it's not very nice the way that boy acted.
No. Usually when you're different, you get picked on because you're different.
I wonder why that is.
People are mean.
People are mean? Do you think it's just because they don't understand? They've never...
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's because they just don't understand sometimes. I don't think they went about it the right way. That day, Miss Peterson could see that we were badly shaken. Gibby finally spoke up. Miss Peterson, he said, we're all junkyard kids. Even though you try to make us feel better about it, we're throwaway junk and everyone knows it. Oh, my dear, that's where you're wrong, she said wistfully. Every one of you is my wonder. Don't you realize what a junkyard really is? A place for things that nobody wants, Jody answered. Oh, it's a place full of wondrous possibilities. What some see as bit and broken and throwaways are actually amazing things waiting to be made into something new, something unexpected, something surprising. We all looked puzzled. All right, class, get your coats. We are walking to the Melvin Beach junkyard right now, she exclaimed.
Oh, field trip.
Have you ever made something out of trash into treasure?
Yes.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
What did you create?
I made a wreath.
Oh, very cool.
Out of curtains.
Out of curtains. Who would have thought? At the junkyard, Miss Peterson stopped us. From now, form into your tribes, then collect everything that you think could be made into something new. Remember, wanderers, here's your chance. Forget what the object was. Imagine what it could be. Each of the tribes set off across the junkyard, collecting wheels, doors, handles, latches. We vanillas hadn't gotten just the right junk, though, till most of the end of our visit. As Jody, Raven, and Thom and I were climbing over our last pile of assorted junk, Gibby called us. He was standing under a shed roof looking up. There, hanging from the root strut, was an old wrecked model airplane. Gib, that's just an old torn-up plane, Thom said during the leave. No, Gibby said. It's a beauty. I see it. We are going to rebuild it into something bigger and better. Something wonderful. Something that will defy gravity itself. This plane is going to fly all the way to the moon. There was such a wonder in his eyes that we knew we had just what we needed. So that's that plane from the cover.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if they make a replica of it, or if they build it so it can fly.
They probably
Make it a motorized one.
Oh,
Pretty cool.
motorized.
For the next few weeks during the last hour of class time, we worked on our new inventions. As we hammered and sawed and cut, Miss Peterson read to us Great Expectations, David Copperfield, and sometimes poetry. But every day, Miss Peterson reminded us. Some people look at things the way they are and cry. Why? But I want you to look at things and see what they could be and ask, why not? Gibby was the boss of our plane project. We removed all the outer skin, built a new balsa struts, and repaired a lot of the skeleton. Raven replaced the old skin with pure silk. Ooh. Finally, we painted the rebuilt plane with low-resistance lacquer. Will it fly? Do you think the plane will fly?
Yes. It flew on the cover.
I wonder if it will fly. Ah, yeah, it did.
Smart. Retain information. Yeah.
The day came when we were to present our stupendous projects. The Cinnamon tribe was first. They unveiled a tangled sculpture of hollow tubes. Well, Miss Peterson asked the Cinnamons, what is your invention? It's a vibraphonium, the Cinnamons called out. What do you think a vibraphonium is? Is it like a...
It sounds like a really complicated instrument.
Right? I wonder what sound it makes. It took 3 people to play it. It's fabulous. The almonds made a hanging wall maze, full of levers, fulcrums, and counterweights. When wall bearings were loaded into the top, they clattered down, bounced, shivered, and jumped as they ran through the maze. Stupendous. When the lemons uncovered their device, none of us could figure out what it was. This is perpetual movement. Dallas Schiffer gave his invention a shove, and leaned way forward, ringing bells, pulling at springs, and twisting back and forth. We must have watched that thing for 15 minutes. It just did not stop. When was the vanilla's turn? Gibby pulled the covering off. When it was the vanilla's turn, Gibby pulled the covering off. Sorry. But that is just an old model airplane, Booth Schiffer called out. Wrong, Gibby shouted back. There's an airplane that's going to defy gravity. This baby is going all the way to the moon. I really wonder if it could go to the moon, or if it could actually just fly to the sky. Everyone laughed. Miss Peterson spoke up. If Miss Gilbert says it's destined for the moon, I for one believe him. Come on, Gibby. Will that thing fly? Someone shouted. Oh, it will fly all right. We flew it like a kite off the Buttman's Hill, Jody trumped. We had. That was off a hill for it to fly by itself, though. We need a propulsion unit. Uh-oh. So, propulsion unit. Propulsion unit?
Propulsion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you... It's propulsion movement. Is it a motor? Like, do you think they're going to attach a motor to it and send it off? Or do you think it's a fan?
I think it's a propulsion propeller, maybe.
Propeller? So like
They sound
thing...
similar.
Very good. He means a motor. I added, and we found the perfect one.
Yeah.
It would take the plane right into the sky. The trouble is it's expensive. That's when the tribe stepped in. All of them. Miss Peterson asked the whole class if they'd help raise money for the motor. Everyone cheered. It was anonymous. They would. I wonder what anonymous means. For the next few weeks, all the moms made cakes and cookies and sold them at the bake sales. our dad sponsored car washes. All of us junkyard kids used things we had gotten from Mr. Beach and made gadgets to sell. By that spring, we had made enough money to buy the perfect motor. The next thing to do was set a date for launch. I wonder what launch means.
To send into the air.
You think to send into the air?
Yeah.
We wanted everyone in the school to see it. That's when Gibby thought of school science fair. Perfect, Jody said. He had started missing a lot of school, not feeling well. When he was there, Raven was at his side. Sometimes she even helped him climb the stairs. We could launch it from the school roof, and it would fly right over the field where the fair is, the class cheered. Maybe, Miss Peterson said. But wait, this magnificent airship has to have a name. What would you name your airplane?
My airplane, I would name it the Wonders Wings.
Wonders Wings? I would name mine the Fabulous Taylor.
Flying Taylor.
Flying Taylor. Everyone started calling out names like Fabulous Flyer and Windy Wings. Jody stood up. He looked pale. I think she needs to be called the Junkyard Wonder, because we just made it out of junk, and because we are Junkyard Wanderers made it. This plane is us. It was just a week later when Miss Peterson was late. She was never late. Her eyes were red and she looked sad. Please sit down. I have some very bad news. There was silence. We have lost Jody Beach. He passed away last night in his sleep. Then she put her face in her hands and cried. How? I managed to sputter. Raven and I held hands. Jody had a disease that made his body grow faster than it should. It just kept growing and growing so fast that his dear heart couldn't keep up. It just gave out, Miss Peterson answered. Later that day, the whole class went to the woods behind the school to collect flowers to remember Jody. Now I know what the plane has to be called, the voice called out. At first, we couldn't figure out who was talking. Then, to our shock, we realized it was Raven. None of us knew she could talk. He wanted it to be called the Junkyard Wonder. That's what it has to be. Tears rolled down her cheeks. All of us agreed.
That's very sad.
Well, that's sad. But it's sweet that they named the plane for him. Gibby's dad mounted the motor on the machine and placed it on the table at the back of his workshop. When we saw it, we all gathered around. It was so beautiful. We tried it out more than once from the hill in the back of Gibby's house. It seemed to work. But would it work from the roof of the school on fair day? And would we even get a chance to try? The stairway to the roof was always locked. Maybe Mr. Weeks, the janitor, could help us get to the roof. I think he will, Miss Peterson said, but it will have to be a secret. The day of the fair, we could hardly contain ourselves. Would newspapers be there? Scientists from nearby university? We huddled together out on the playground, chattering about our plans for the launch. Cheese! Look who's listening, Thon mourned. It's Barton Poole. He heard everything. He leaned into Gibby's face. Your dad wears skirts, then he sneered. And no one's allowed on the school roof. Got it? No one. I'm telling the principal about your stupid plans. That doesn't sound so nice.
No. It sounds like he just wants to shut down the plane just to be mean.
Right? I don't... And that is not nice about what he said about his dad wearing skirts. But I do wonder why his dad wears skirts.
Well, they're redheads, maybe Irish.
Could be. It could be a culture thing.
Everyone's different.
And sure enough, when we got back to our schoolroom, the principal was waiting for us, and Barton Poole was with them. I've been informed of your plans for the science fair, Miss Peterson. There will be no launching from the school roof, and no fuel-driven planes anywhere on the school grounds. It could be very dangerous. Mr. Weeks will keep your plane in the janitorial closet until the end of the school year. The principal turned on his heel and left the room. Mr. Weeks looked very sad as he carried the Wonder out of the room. Sorry, kids, he said. We were stunned. Raven started crying. This is going to be for Jody, she whispered. Miss Peterson said nothing for a time. Then she began. We're going to launch the Wanderer tomorrow, just as we planned, and from the roof, Miss Peterson told us to be at Mr. Weeks' closet tomorrow morning, the morning of the fair. You think they're going to steal it? I wonder if they're going to steal the plane back. Or is Mr. Weeks going to help them?
I think Mr. Weeks is going to help them.
Weeks going to help them? Our secret weapon turned out to be Mr. McDonald, Gibby's dad. If Mr. McDonald stayed with us during the launch, the principal was okay with it. We couldn't believe the good news. Mr. Weeks handed the Wanderer to Gibby's dad. Let's take her up, he said. On the roof, we could see kids pouring onto the field to look at science exhibits that were being set up. Raven pulled gorgeous silk streamers that she had hand-painted out of a bag and let them stay rolled up at the edge of the roof. Then, with Thom's help, Gibby and his dad put the Wonder in place. They carefully connected the engine to a car battery. Then turned the pump to deliver the fuel from the tin sitting next to it in the engine. Then they pumped the fuel into the plane. We all stood back and watched. Maybe it will go all the way to Lansing, I speculated. Maybe even Detroit, Thom said. Maybe around the world, Ravine whispered. No, Gibby said with a grin. This baby's going all the way to the moon. You think it can go all the way to the moon?
If they believe hard enough, yes.
Is it hard enough? When the whole class assembled on the field, Miss Peterson signaled Gibby's dad to begin the countdown and start the engine. Mr. McDonald knelt in front of it while Gibby held the plane still, spinning the propeller over and over again. So what is a propeller? Is it the thing on the front of the plane?
It's a spinning thing.
When the engine didn't catch on, we held our breaths. Pump the intake again, Mr. McDonald said to Gibby. He asked some of the boys to hold on to the Wonder. And you have to let it go, just at the right moment, or it will bank left or right, understand? He spun the propeller a few more times, and then with a loud bang and roar, the propeller started spinning. Blue smoke puffed out. Someone in the field yelled, and everybody looked up at the roof. That was when Raven unfurled her banners down the side of the building. Almost to speed, Gibby's dad hollered. 10, 9, 8. When he got to 1, Mr. McDonald hollered, let her go! The junkyard Wonder shot out of everybody's hands. It was airborne. First it went over the field, then as suddenly as it started, it sputtered and seemed to stall. Then the engine roared to life again with a noise that was deafening. The Wanderer's nose pointed straight up, straight toward the sun. I wonder if it's actually going to make it to the moon.
Maybe.
Might just make it.
Oh, I never read that part.
We all ran to the wall of the roof and watched breathlessly as it streaked through the cloud cover, and then appeared above, ever skyward straight to the stratosphere. I wonder what the stratosphere is. I wonder if it's like the circle, or if it's like a layer around the Earth.
I think
Interesting.
It's the second layer.
We'll have to look that up. Even though the science department from the local university was there along with the school board and the newspapers, for all of us it was only Miss Peterson that mattered, and Jody. Tears glistened in Miss Peterson's eyes as she watched the Wonder climb into the heavens. Like I said, Gibby whispered, that baby's going straight to the moon. You might just be right. Miss Peterson has always been with me, all these years, so have all those in my tribe. Thom went on to become the artistic director of the American Ballet Theater Company in New York.
Ooh.
That's very prestigious.
Fancy.
Raven became a textile designer and was eventually invited to Paris to design for fashion industry. As for Gibby, well, he went on to become an aeronautical engineer for NASA. Oh, wow.
NASA.
I wonder what an aeronautical engineer does.
Probably did go to the moon.
Probably. He helped design the lunar modules for the Apollo missions. And me, I became a creator of books for children. For all of us, Miss Peterson was the wind beneath our wings. She was the alpha of our tribe. She was our compass. I saw Gibby's in Houston a few years ago. We spent the afternoon recalling our time together in the junkyard and how Miss Peterson helped us believe in ourselves. Then Gibby's eyes misted over. He leaned into me and grinned and said, remember that photo that my dad took of all of us the day on the roof after we launched the Wanderer? Well, Patricia and I stowed that photo aboard the lunar module on Apollo 11. All of us Wanderers really did make it to the moon after all. Aw, that's sweet.
That is really cute, yeah.
That is really cool. So, what did y'all get from the book? What was his memoir about?
Her memoir.
Or her memoir. Sorry.
I think it's about embracing your difference and, just making it into something special instead of something bad.
That's what I got
Like
from
the
it.
plane.
The plane was really cool, and they even showed on the front page. Then what shocked me was they got it to actually fly.
Mm-hmm.
I found that really sweet. So what I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna hand out exit tickets for y'all.
Excellent.
And what I want y'all to do is I already have a question on it. Is I want you to write one topic or one idea or item that you got from this book. One thought. Like what did you get from this book? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Who was your favorite characters? This one item. And when you're done, You can hand it to me as you're leaving.
I need a pen now.
Thank you.
Okay.